Like, to me, it's like a minute in the life, and we're going to choose seniors preparing to go out into the world. If they really were like, could be a hit, I would have thought they would have chose freshmen. That's just me.
No, yeah, that's a really good point. I hadn't thought about that before. Yeah, like I said, I don't think anyone really was thinking long term that it would be such a big hit. But I like to think that they had an idea that it was going to be several series long. Otherwise, I don't know why they would have needed that much material. Or maybe they started and were like, oh, we might have something here. I don't know.
Well, that's like the other thing. I wonder if, like, as they were filming, they're like, wait a second, like Lauren's connected to Steven, and here's Kristin, and now there's Talan, and like, wait, this is like 5 love triangles rolled up into one.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. That could have been it. We're just so fascinating.
Was it like Game of Thrones? Was it like, and do you remember like who was the first cast, or was it like something posted on a bulletin board? Is this like getting into the school play, or was it like, oh my God, Lauren's got it, who else is getting it?
I think they just kind of all called us and said, yeah, we want to move forward with you. We want to film with you. And I want to say there were other people that they filmed with too that just didn't really make it to the end, or like didn't really make it to the show. I don't exactly remember how they said like you're going to be on it and you're not. But I will say that like the people who wanted to be on it and who didn't make it, they were not very happy.
Were they like totally just that was it? They just wanted nothing to do with you guys or Lauren or Steven?
Yeah, they
anyone?
actually petitioned so that they couldn't film at the high school, because originally they were going to be filming at school. That's where they did the castings. And then after the show was cast, they said, no, you can't film on school anymore. So,
man, high school kids are tough.
Brutal, especially in Laguna.
They will. I get it. Like, I'm from Connecticut. I think it's probably a similar type of high school. Like my high school, people would cut a bitch, pretty much.
Yeah, they were pretty brutal. So
interesting. So that's what it was. Basically, you were supposed to be able to film at school, and then there was a petition, and the school was like, "Oh yeah, like we're not interested in MTV being in our classroom."
Yeah, I want to even say like the parents like threw a fit, which rightfully so. I mean, now that I have kids, I wouldn't really want video cameras in their classroom. I mean, that's not very conducive to learning. So
totally. And was that like, were your parents, because you're all under 18, so like your parents were just like, okay, if you want to do this. I imagine some people might have wanted to do it and their parents said no.
Yeah, I think my parents have always been kind of hands off when it comes to my decisions and very supportive of what I want to do. So I was very fortunate that way. And then additionally, my dad and my grandpa, my family had been on television for years prior. So it was more of like a natural, I don't want to say fit, but like it wasn't so outside of the box for my family.
What were they all on TV for years?
So my grandpa was actually the first televised pastor.
Really?
So he had like his church services broadcast around the whole world. So.
And what about your father?
And then my father followed in his footsteps, his namesake. So, and then my brother actually still is doing that. It's called the Hour of Power. So.
Wow.
Yeah, it's pretty good.
So they were probably like,
good legacy.
We understand like the power of TV and what this could be.
Yeah, and it's interesting because as I was growing up, like people would come up to my grandpa and my dad all the time and like recognize them. And then my dad, after the show premieres, he's like, well, that's a first for me. Someone came up and asked if I was Christina Schuller's dad, because he's always been used to people coming up to him saying, oh, are you Robert Schuller? And then he's like, well, I was finally recognized for being your dad. Like, good job.
That's so funny.
So yeah, it was funny.
That's so funny. So like when they started like the actual filmings, like you couldn't be in schools, parents approved, like, could you tell? Cause like, right, like there was just The Real World. There was really nothing else. Like, yeah. Did you know what you were doing? Like, I mean, like you said, it's authentic because you didn't really have anything to compare it to. Like, you weren't like, I better bring the drama. I better not say that. Like, were you aware of what was happening? And were you aware of the cameras?
I was aware of the cameras. I will say, like, again, none of us really knew what we were getting into. So, and we didn't know what the storyline was. At least I didn't. So I remember actually when I was in New York with Morgan, they were like, will you call Steven and see how their trip to Cabo is going? So I was like, okay, sure. And so I remember calling him. We were like in Times Square somewhere really picturesque. And I'm on the phone with Steven. I'm like, yeah, how's your trip? Blah, 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 blah. Like asking him like blase questions like you would ask a friend, like, how's the water? Are you guys having fun? Little did I know, like, they probably wanted me to be like, are you with Lauren? Or are you with Kristin? Or like, what's going on? And I'm not going to ask him these questions. Like, so so that was one thing that I clearly remember, that I was like, in retrospect, had I known what the storyline was, I would have, planted those seeds and tried to ask those questions. But again, I think just the authenticity of it all was special.
Right. And like, you didn't really know what was going on necessarily because you, like, a lot of your scenes were with Morgan.
Yeah.
So you didn't, like, did you know as you were filming what was going on, and like it was going to kind of be like the LC, Steven, Kristin love triangle?
No, I didn't
Really?
know that. No.